Hello everybody, this is Howard the Teaserking. I talk a little college football. I just did my pro one and I gave you a college game on there that will be complimentary if you buy the pro package. Again, the pro package is $100 this week, which is the pivotal playoff week, plus all the playoff games through the Super Bowl, $100. I think it's $150 if you want the rest of the college with that package. So you'll get the lot going tomorrow, plus the playoffs and the New Year's Day games, the 31st games, and then the next round of the playoffs. So you'll have everything there, plus all the pros, $150. If you just want the college, it's $77 or $75, whatever I got on the site. So you still get all these games from today going forward. I think one of the games is already kicked off. The Auburn-Purdue game, I did make a selection there. I took Auburn, and then I played it with the Iowa State-Washington State game. And then the lot going tomorrow. So let's talk about, I'm going to talk about the playoff. Oklahoma, Alabama, Notre Dame, Clemson. So let's talk about Alabama first. Alabama lane 14, over under of 77. Let me see if that's, let's get that spread as of 2:16 Vegas, Michigan time, the Vegas spread. So we've got Alabama minus 14 at every casino, over under of 77. We've got Kyle Murray now probable. I don't know if he got some illness. A wide receiver from Oklahoma is probable. Rodney Anderson, the running back's been out all year. And for Alabama, the key quarterback Tagovailoa is probable. He's had a knee or ankle problem, but he's had a couple of weeks to rest, so he should be good. Notre Dame, Clemson. Everybody's healthy, but some defensive back for Clemson, and they threw a few guys off the team of a suspension. One defensive lineman, but I think they'll be okay. All four of their defensive linemen are going to be top NFL picks, so you'd like to have the guy, but I don't think that's critical. So those are your lines. Clemson minus 12.5 at CGI Technology, which is, I don't remember which casino that is. I think that's the William Hill. CGI's the Venetian, and they're only laying 12 there. So if you want Clemson, that would be the best. Then you get it down to 6. With Notre Dame at over under a 56, a couple of 56.5s, one at Westgate and one at Bet Online, but all the major casinos are 56. So there's your line. So let's look at the numbers. First of all, Oklahoma scores 50 a game, gives up 32. Very bad defense. We can say they play in the Big 12. Nobody has a good defense, but we'd be lying. When we look at the conference, Iowa State, who beat Oklahoma State, West Virginia, Texas Tech. They give up 22 a game. They got a great defense that nobody knows about, and they're great against the line. Hint, hint. So Iowa State, 22. You got TCU giving up 24. You got Kansas State giving up 25. So I don't want to hear it's the Big 12 and everybody gives up 32. Oklahoma is the worst defense in the conference. Oklahoma State gives up 32. Texas Tech gives up 31. And Baylor gives up 31. Kansas gives up only 30. So no, Oklahoma's defense is terrible. Part of it is because of their offense. Scores a lot and scores too quickly, which was my whole analysis on the San Diego Chargers and teams that are fast break type of teams that have a great offense and score quickly. They don't rest their defense. You don't want to score in 3 plays 80 yards. And I put a comment on, Dan Fouts does something on like the 81 Chargers. He says, well, isn't it my job to score like fast? And I wrote a comment on there going, no, that's not your job. Your job is to rest the defense and score. Theoretically, you want a 5-6 minute drive that scores a touchdown. It's far better than a 3-play, 80-yard drive in 1 minute that scores a touchdown, because your defense isn't going to rest and you're not going to win the game, because eventually you'll throw an interception, you'll get sacked, you won't score because you get near the goal line, you got to kick field goals, and the other team blows through your defense because they're all tired. So no. Now that could be one of the reasons their defense is so bad, is they do score a lot. But let's look at West Virginia. They scored 42 a game and only gave up 26. So I'll shoot that theory out the window. They just have a bad defense. Let's put it that way. So that's Oklahoma. Let's go to Alabama. Alabama scores 47. A point, 2 points left. Well, let's call it 48. We round 47-9 versus 49. So the offenses are dead even. Defensively, however, somehow Alabama finds a way to only give up 14 points a game. Not 32. So there goes that theory out the window. They both put up 500 yards of offense. Oklahoma 324 passing, 254 running for 578. Alabama 326. They're mirror images. 202 running, 528 total. So, do you think Oklahoma's going to run for 254 on Alabama? No freaking way. Will Alabama put up 47 on a terrible defense? Absolutely. Will Oklahoma be able to score 49 on a defense that gives up 14? No freaking way. Now, why do I say that? Well, let's look at who Alabama beat. Who's a good offense? Georgia scores 40 a game. They beat them by only 7, but Georgia's got an 18 defense. They only give up 18, but they did maintain Georgia. Granted, Georgia scored on them like 30 points. Missouri, who scores 37 a game, I think Alabama shut them out. I'll get you the scores in a minute. A&M scores 35, didn't do anything. They didn't play Florida. Ole Miss, who scores 34, has got a really good quarterback. They did nothing. South Carolina, 30. I don't know if they played. Yeah, I think they did 32 a game. Nothing on Alabama. They even played a couple of out of conferences. So let me get you to the Alabama. Let's go to Bama here. I want to go to this site. Pardon me while I get to the schedule. So my point's going to be basically they played good passing teams. And guess what? They shut them all down. And these teams, I believe Missouri and Ole Miss, score really close to what Oklahoma does. All right, hold on. SEC. All right, SEC, Alabama, schedule. Sorry about this. I should have had this up. I apologize. All right, so against really good passing teams, Arkansas State. Okay, you laugh at me, Arkansas State. All right, let's look at Arkansas State. Arkansas State is a Sun Belt team, scores 31 a game. Justice Hansen was an Oklahoma quarterback who transferred. So they scored 32 a game. Against Alabama, they scored 7. Ole Miss, and I just talked about them. Ole Miss scores 34 a game. Against Alabama, 7. A&M, they did get 23 on them. They score in the mid-30s. Missouri scores 37 a game with Drew Lock, who's a first or second round NFL quarterback. 37 a game. They scored 10. They beat them 39-10. Tennessee has nothing. LSU has no quarterback. Old Mississippi State, as I was talking, was 24-0. Auburn 52-21, who's got a very good defense, and then Georgia 35-28, who's by far much better than Oklahoma. Why we need a 16-team playoff is this perfect example here. Georgia wins its conference, has to play Alabama in this game, which should have been a playoff game. Alabama beats them 35-28. So here, a very strong Georgia team. Let's compare Oklahoma to Georgia, okay? Georgia scores 40 a game, gives up 18. Oklahoma scores 49 a game, it gives up 32. So you can just see Alabama against the defense that gives up 18 a game, puts up 35. And Hurts had to come in and score 21 of it. So if Tagliabue is not hurt, who knows what happens there. The worst game, and this is what I gave in my Pro one, my free college pick there is take Old Mississippi State under against Iowa. Well, here you got Old Mississippi State plays them 24-0. They held Alabama to 24. LSU holds them to 29, and then Georgia 35. So 24 is the lowest. What I was saying earlier in the year, and I did my video, was all these teams they played, Louisville, Arkansas State, Ole Miss, A&M, Lafayette, Arkansas, Missouri, Tennessee, all were very weak defensive teams, and Alabama destroyed them, putting up 50, 60 points, 45 against A&M with a decent defense, 39 against Missouri. So let's look at A&M and Missouri's defense. A&M gives up 26 a game. Missouri gives up 24. So decent defensive teams, and they still lit them up. So when you're playing a Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and LSU, 24-0, 29-0. All right, well, let's look at it, Howard. LSU. LSU scores 31 and gives up 20, and they beat them 29-0. They scored 29 on that defense. Old Mississippi State scores 29, gives up 12. 12 freaking points is all Mississippi. And Old Mississippi State played LSU, Auburn, Florida, I believe Georgia, gives up 12 freaking points. And here you got it. And so Alabama, what do they do? 24-0. The point is Alabama shuts out. Okay, so Missouri is probably Missouri and Georgia. I don't even know if you can compare Georgia to Oklahoma because Georgia runs the ball so much better and Oklahoma's more of a passing team. Let's compare them to Missouri, who scores 37 a game. Alabama beats Missouri 39-10. 10 points is all Missouri gets. Now you know Alabama, yes, their weakness is against a Clemson, right? Deshaun Watson, he scrambles around and he can throw. Kyler Murray's, yes, he does scramble around a little bit and he can throw. But this year Alabama's got the offense to take that out. So you're laying 14 here. Over or under of 77. I can't in good conscience think that this game's going to get to 77. So I got to throw I think that number is way too high. The number I would have would be 71, 70, maybe. First of all, it's a playoff game. The teams tighten up a little bit. Secondly, Alabama's got the defense. They're going to run the ball in Oklahoma. They're going to play the defense on Oklahoma, which is going to shut them down. There's no way this game gets to 77. No, I'm not going to play over. I'm not going to go under in an Oklahoma game. Put it that way. But it is an under 77, under 83. I think has a much better chance than that. And the biggest reason is Alabama's defense will stop Oklahoma's offense. And Alabama's going to run the ball more. Or Tagliabue's going to be a little more active on the shorter passes. There's no way Oklahoma can stop the receivers on Alabama. There's the Judy and this other guy are like little, little zigzaggers. Like you can't. These guys have moves like Calvin Ridley, right? It's like Calvin Ridley times 3. Like he's got all these zigzag moves. Calvin Ridley, like he'll go straight and go, backward. You can't cover him. Well, Judy's better than Ridley. Plus, they got 2 or 3 other guys. Oklahoma. Let's go to Oklahoma's games. So let's prove my point. Hold on a second. Alright, so let's look at Oklahoma's schedule. So here's where I'm going to try to prove my point. Oklahoma loses to Texas 48-45. Oklahoma beats Army 28-21, my Army team. That's when I started betting Army heavy. They go to Oklahoma and they go to overtime at 21. Yeah, okay. What do? Keep the ball away. So Oklahoma basically is banging out 50-point wins. 28 against the Army. So let's look at Iowa State. 37-27. And I just talked about Iowa State. They give up 22 a game. Alabama gives up 14, but let's look at against Iowa State gives up 22, who beat Oak State, Texas Tech, West Virginia. They can beat these passing teams. So if we go here, they scored 37-27 against Iowa State, which is a 40 and 70s, a 64. That's probably around the score of this game, but I don't think Oklahoma's going to get 27. Okay, who's their TCU? Let's go to TCU in Texas. So TCU gives up 24, Texas gives up 26. So TCU, they scored 52 on, 52-27. Texas, they lost 48-45. So the TCU game goes to 79. But I don't see them getting... Kansas puts up 40 on them. Let's look at Kansas. Kansas scores 23 a game. Right? Kansas. 23 a game. Puts up 40 on them. West Virginia, similar offense to Alabama, puts up 56 on them. T-Tech, 46 you would expect. Texas, 45. Baylor puts up 33 on them. And Baylor only scores 28 a game. So basically, you've got a 50-point. So you got basically, they're better than West Virginia scoring. And West Virginia is a great offense. West Virginia puts up 42 a game. And West Virginia put up 56 on them. It should have won the game. Oklahoma got 2 touchdowns on, they sacked the quarterback. He fumbled. They ran it in, so that wasn't even their offense scoring. So my point being is that Oklahoma gives up a whole lot of points. Their defense stinks, basically, which we could see by the numbers. Alabama's offense is better than any of the offenses they played. West Virginia, Oak State, Texas Tech, and they all gave up 40, 50 points. The difference is with Alabama's defense, do not look for Oklahoma to score in the 40s. You would think they could, but they're not going to because they're going to blitz them, all right? What Alabama will do is blitz. and not allow him, he'll get a few touchdowns, but not allow him to put up 40 or 50 points. It's a playoff game. It's always a little bit tighter. As long as Tagovailoa, who seems healthy, is out there, Alabama goes up and down the field on them because Oklahoma can't stop the win. But it's the defense. It's Alabama's defense that's going to shut down Oklahoma to a point and keep them maybe in the 20s. So I'm looking at probably, let's say, 45 to 20, a 65, let's say. Somewhere, maybe Oklahoma gets to 20. It'll be close to that 77 number. I guess the game will definitely be, to me, at least in the 60s. But if I look at the Alabama-Georgia game, that was 35-28, 63. And Georgia can score just as well as Oklahoma can. They held them to 28. So let's give Oklahoma in the 20s. Let's give Alabama at least in the 40s. There's your 65 to 70. And Oklahoma. So Alabama wins by 20 points, I'd say. That's step one. Alabama defense. And this is where you go to. San Diego Chargers. Why did they never win a Super Bowl with Dan Fouts? Because they never had a defense. Because they'll face the Raiders with their defense. We'll shut them down. There's always this defense always can beat an offense. But that's why I'm looking at the Oklahoma defense as their Achilles gone. And Alabama scores 48. And I bitched about Alabama. And I was right when they played Old Mississippi State and LSU. They scored in the 20s. You don't have that defense. So for them to score 24 on Old Mississippi State, who gives up 12 freaking points, playing LSU, playing Georgia, playing Florida, playing Auburn and Alabama. They played Alabama, and they gave up 12 freaking points on average to that schedule. So that's what I'm saying. You have no way. There's no way Oklahoma's going to keep up. They haven't seen a defense like this. I'll give you the defense that they saw like this is Mr. Army. Army gives up 18 a game. Okay? Army scores 30 a game, gives up 18. Part of the reason is because they're running 1,000 running plays a game. Now, they probably run 70, 80 running plays, which eats the clock up, which is why they play. But they do have a good defense. So against Army, who gives up 18, what did they get? 28 in overtime. So it was 21-21. They only scored 21, but it was mostly Army keeping the ball away from them. But Army still scored 21 on them and took them to overtime. So against a really good defense, they only scored 28, and that took overtime. But again, they didn't have the ball, but they still had to have at least 9 or 10 possessions against Army. I mean, no matter what, Army doesn't take 4 possessions and run 4 quarters. And they couldn't stop Army. So there you go. So I really like Alabama here. Laying. So we like Alabama laying 14 down to 8. Now in the Teaserking, I've actually played them in a 10-point teaser. To get them down to 4, because I really hate laying 8 over a touchdown, but as I'm thinking about it, yeah, you can probably lay 8. I think Alabama it's just too much for them. As long as Tagovailoa plays, they're going to put up 50, 60 points, and can Oklahoma keep up? And you got to realize this is Alabama's defense, and they've got a month to scout them. They've beaten Missouri and Ole Miss, who can pass. Okay, let's look at those stats. Look at the SEC. Jordan Tama, Ole Miss quarterback, 326 a game, 19 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Drew Lock, Missouri, 260 a game, 25 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Kelly Mond, Texas A&M, 250 a game, 23 and 8. Jacob Fromm doesn't, they run the ball much more, but he had 27 and 5. But because of the balance, they were able to score 28 on them. So all your high-scoring teams, they basically just shut them down. That's just what happens. They're very good at that. Um, so that's where I'm at. Justin Hansen, Arkansas State, 27 touchdowns, 6 picks, shut them out. So it's not like they haven't played good passing teams like in Oklahoma, in Ole Miss, and Missouri, who score 50, 60 points, and they did nothing. So that's where I'm at. They'll take the passing away. They'll blitz them. That defense is smothering. And what happens when Oklahoma gets inside the 20? What are they gonna, they're not going to score. There's no way you can pass it, and you're not running on Alabama. It doesn't happen. LSU's got a decent offense, and so does Mississippi State, and they got shut out. And their offense isn't terrible. It's not Missouri, but look at Missouri only put up 10 points. So take Alabama, lay the 8, absolutely. Let's go to Notre Dame and Clemson. Notre Dame, Clemson. Clemson, minus 12.5. We've already talked about over under a 56. So let's break the numbers down. Notre Dame, 33 a game, gives up 17. Look at the difference in defense between Notre Dame and Oklahoma. Notre Dame throws for 266 with a fairly new quarterback, Ian Book. They run for 191. Very good defense at 17. Let's look at Clemson. Now Clemson scores 45 a game, and their defense only gives up 13. And their whole defensive line's first-round draft picks into the NFL, except for the one kid's going to miss because he's suspended for taking some substance, which, you know, the whole thing's just so stupid. They throw for 270. They run for 260. This is a freaking balanced team. 530 yards of offense. The best defense there is Miami in the ACC after Clemson's Miami and Virginia. Miami at 18, Virginia 21. Miami, I don't know what's with them. I mean, Wisconsin killed them. They're just not very good. They're, you know, Jimmy Johnson ain't there. Let's put it that way. No, neither is Michael Irvin. Neither is Bernie Kosar. So that's what you have there. So look at Clemson, 270, 260. And Notre Dame is 260, 190. So Clemson's got the offense and the defense on them. So let's look at the numbers. Look at the quarterbacks. Clemson, the ACC. So Clemson switches to Trevor Lawrence. 200 yards a game. 24 touchdowns and 4 interceptions, 8 sacks in roughly 13 games. I don't know if he played the first couple, which skewed his stats or not, probably. Notre Dame. Ian Book, in 9 games, throws for 274 a game, 19 touchdowns, but 6 picks, sacked 12 times. So he's started off on gangbusters, but now he's like 19-6. So, you know, Wimbush, yeah, played 6 games, and he stunk. He had 4 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. You can see why the switch, but Ian Book, 19-6, I'm not that impressed with that. I got Stephen Kelbert from Liberty going 21-8. Well, no, 21-8. Here's Ross Combs from UMass, 14 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. You know, even Zach Wilson from BYU, 8 touchdowns and 3 picks. So I'm not excited about 6 picks and 19 touchdowns. That's 270. So they throw a lot, but I'm not sold on him. It looks like a lot of short passes. Let's go inside the numbers, and we'll do Alabama too. This is 2018, so it's a road game. Alabama as a road favorite, 6-0. Alabama 12-0 against the number this year. Against as a road favorite, 2-4. Ouch. Clemson road favorite, 5-1 this year, 10-2 against the number, 3-3 if you go against them. So Clemson and Alabama, strong road favorites. Notre Dame as a road dog. See, you're not going to have anything. They were 6-0 as a road favorite. They were 1-0 as a dog. I don't remember who they were a dog to. So Notre Dame was 9-3 with, and then we get down to Oklahoma. Again, not a dog, but they were only 3-3 on the road, 5-1 against as a road favorite. And you got to realize these are all road games, all these playoffs. So that's what you have there. Let's go back to 17 and 18. So we got Alabama is 10-3 as a road favorite, 19-6 overall, 6-7 against. Clemson 11-2 as a road favorite, 6-7 against. Again, you're not going to have a lot of Notre Dame and Oklahoma road dog. Notre Dame's been a dog twice, one at home, one on the road. They've won them both. So they won the game, and if you bet against them, you lost. But not enough information with only 2 sample size. And Oklahoma, 3-0 as a road dog, and 1-2 against. So there you go. So they're a good road dog. I think they're a road dog to Georgia last year, and they scored a lot. But that was with Baker Mayfield. Let's go back to 2016 to try to get something on Oklahoma. Still 3-0 as a road dog, so they had nothing there. Notre Dame 3-0 as a road dog, so good dog, but they're 2-1 against. And then you got Clemson as a road favorite, 17-2, 89% since 2016 as a road freaking favorite, and they're 32-8 overall. And Alabama 17-4 as a road favorite. So these teams go on the road, play their defense, good quarterback play. They can run the ball down your throat. Now Alabama can pass the ball down your throat. So can Clemson. They get rolling, look out. So let's try to go inside the schedules here. So first let's look at Clemson. Now remember what I said, Miami was the second best defense in this conference. And oh no, they didn't even play them. They played Pitt for their thing. So they played, Clemson played Texas A&M 28-26. Georgia Tech's not good. Syracuse, who can throw the ball pretty good, 27-23. They killed Wake Forest. NC State, who's got a good quarterback, 7 points. They killed Florida State. BC, pretty good. Duke, South Carolina in their annual 56-35, and Pitt. So they didn't play Miami, so if I look at the best defense they played in the ACC, I guess it would be Texas A&M, right? Texas A&M gave up 26. BC gives up 25. Virginia 21, Duke 27. So they scored 35 on Duke, 27 on BC. So the better defenses, they didn't put up the 50 on NC State 41. NC State, oh there you go. NC State gives up 22 a game. That's pretty strong defense. And Clemson beats them 41-7. Again at home. The BC game was on the road, 27-7, and then they killed Pitt in the championship game. South Carolina was at home, 56-35. Let's see, South Carolina scored 32, gave up 27. So fairly decent defense, nothing like a Notre Dame defense. So overall, they score. The competition, A&M, South Carolina, probably the best two. NC State, they really handle the passing team. Probably as close to Notre Dame as you're going to get here. South Carolina, pretty close to Notre Dame, 56-35. Pitt, not a good quarterback. Duke has a good quarterback, and they held them 35-6, as does BC. Louisville sucks. Florida State sucks. Syracuse gave them problems, 27-23. They've got a good system, a good quarterback. So you can see, did they blow out everybody? No. They seem like a solid team. So let's go to Notre Dame. But I like that Clemson's very balanced. So let's go to the Notre Damers. Notre Dame kills me. I'll bet them against freaking Ball State, laying 15 points, and they win by 7. And then Ohio, or Miami of Ohio, blows out Ball State. I'm like, you gotta be kidding. So let's see. They beat Michigan 24-17. Week 1. Michigan's quarterback wasn't ready. They gave up a kickoff return, I remember. They barely beat Ball State, barely beat Vandy, and then they switch quarterbacks against Wake. They blow out Wake. They blow out Stanford 38-17. They blow out V-Tech, who, as we see, really isn't that good. And they barely beat Pitt, who's All right, they beat the Navy, who really had a weak defense this year. They beat Northwestern, who's average, by 10. A weak Florida State, a weak Syracuse, and a weak USC. They win by 7. Again, now USC's terrible this year. All right, 24-17. Let's go to the USC. Prove my point. USC scores 26 a game, gives up 27. So against a team like that, they beat them 24-17. So a team that gives up 27, they score 24 on. Syracuse, they pound 36-3. They knock the quarterback out. Okay. Who's the team most like Clemson here? Stanford? Michigan? No. Stanford? I don't see it. So who's the really good team they played? Northwestern? Probably the best team. Michigan, week 1, wasn't very, that good. And Ohio State showed how good Michigan is. Vanderbilt, Wake Forest, who had a pretty good offense. Probably Stanford, I'm going to say, is the best team. They beat Stanford 38-17 at home. Let's look at Stanford. They scored 29, give up 23. So they didn't have that defense. Clemson gives up 13. Is there anybody that they played that's, Virginia, let's say ACC, Virginia Tech gives up 30. Let's look at Pitt gives up 28. Let's look at those two games. Virginia Tech and Pitt, they scored 19 on Pitt, who gives up 30, and they scored 45 on Virginia Tech, who gives up 30. So, very confusing Notre Dame. Didn't really beat. You give them the Michigan win, but so do you want to tell me this team that really knocked the quarterback out at Syracuse, barely beats SC, Florida State stinks, Northwestern 31-21 win, and what did Ohio State do? Navy, who stunk, Pitt, who's terrible, they got better, but they beat them 19-14. Penn State beat them by like 30. V-Tech, who's having a real down year, 45-23. So you give them the Stanford win and the Michigan win. And that's it. USC, very average team. Florida State, not good. Northwestern, not good. So the problem with Notre Dame is, who the hell had they beaten? So I think Notre Dame's got a good defense. But Clemson, they didn't play Miami or Virginia, who had the best team. They did play North Carolina State, who's a 22, and they killed them. So they put up 41 on them. So what do you take out of this? Well, let's look at the quarterbacks. I think I did. Ian Brook, 19-6, and Clemson, Lawrence 24-4, and they can run on you. And I went through the numbers. So basically, the team with the better defense in this situation is Clemson, 13 a game. They played some pretty good offenses. You give Notre Dame, they beat Michigan barely on some lucky plays. I saw a touchdown. The Michigan guy tips it, and the Notre Dame guy caught it, and that was early in the game. They didn't do anything in the second half. I mean, I think Clemson is much the better team here. And this is why I played the 3-team 10-point teaser. And I'll give you the 3-team 10-point teaser. Alabama laying 4, Clemson laying 2.5, and Old Mississippi State under, in this case, 54.5. That's your 3-team 10-point teaser. Now, Teaserking normally does 6-point teasers. I did put Mississippi State in a regular 6-point teaser, I believe, with a pro team. But Alabama laying 14 to Oklahoma. Again, I think they'll win by 20. Down to 8, I think, should be. I mean, it was the same spread against Georgia. They beat Georgia. No, it was a 13. I remember I got the W on it because I laid the 7, and ties win. So it was 7 against Georgia. Georgia's a whole lot better offensively and defensively than Oklahoma. So they beat them 35-28. So like I said, they'll beat them good. Clemson, Notre Dame. I mean, Clemson's a very good road favorite. I just don't. It's an unproven. I haven't seen Notre Dame against a good team this year. Okay, Michigan, USC stunk. Stanford was average. Virginia Tech was off. Syracuse quarterback got hurt. Can't tell. SC. I mean, again, it's not. Navy stunk this year. So they played a bunch of at Northwestern. Let's look at Northwestern. Okay, a middle Big Ten team, 23-23. So they don't score a lot. They give up 23, which is pretty good. They beat them 31-21. So they barely beat Northwestern. Ohio State beat What was Ohio State? Ohio State 45, Northwestern 24. Why is Ohio State not in this playoff, and why is Georgia not in this playoff, and why is Notre Dame and Oklahoma in it is first of all the biggest bitch I have. You want to have a playoff to determine the champ, then have some freaking teams in it who are deserving. Ohio State, you win the Big Ten, you're in. Period. Georgia, okay, they lost to Alabama because it was a conference championship game. Doesn't mean they're not good. Oklahoma plays nobody. They played Texas, who was average. So you reward Oklahoma by giving up, basically they're not a complete team. Okay, they should be in here because they won the Big 8. Okay, fine. But you need the Pac-10 team in here. You need the Big 10 team in here. Georgia certainly should be in here. I got no problem with Notre Dame in here, and I got no problem with Oklahoma because Oklahoma won their title. Notre Dame, they played a weak schedule. They get rewarded. Fine. Alabama, I really don't like when they play Citadel. That's bullshit. So that win should come off. Then they play Louisiana Lafayette. Okay, at least they're a Sun Belt team. But this 4 team is such bullshit. It's unbelievable that you have a 4-team playoff with all these teams. I don't really get it. I think it's disgraceful that you're trying to have a playoff and you don't have the best teams. And the best teams should be the best offense and defense. That's for the wild cards. I think UCF gets screwed. Fresno State absolutely gets screwed. And I don't know about the Western Kentucky division. They're pretty bad. Like, I don't know, but I do like the UCF has Houston and Memphis and a lot of good teams in that league. Temple. I mean, why can't they compete? UCF can certainly compete. They beat Auburn last year. You can't tell me they can't compete against an SEC team. Fresno State, killer defense. You want to talk defense? Here's Fresno State's resume. They gave up 13 a game. I locked them under. They're part of my 25. I played a 25 unit lock initially. Fresno State with the New Year's Day game. Fresno State under 60. They win 31-20. So it was a 51. Another winner. The fourth time I locked Fresno State under, both Boise games and the San Diego State, and all four were very easy, very comfortable winners. Like, it's 10-7 late in the fourth quarter, and it's under 60. I mean, the over-unders on those games were in the 50s. I couldn't believe it with their defense. So, again, so half that lock's in. Again, if you buy, you get the other half of the lock. You can certainly use it with the pros or with the college lock. So again, I'm going, if you want, you can get the rest of the bowls. I have a lock going tomorrow for $75 or $77. It's just the lucky 7. So you get the rest of the bowls and the college playoffs. I just gave you the 2, and then those 2 winners, probably Alabama, Clemson will play. But for $150, for $100 you get all the pros this week through the Super Bowl. For $150, you get all this college, the lock tomorrow, and the 25-unit lock has Fresno State under with the other team, so you get that team, which is a lock, and then you get the pros all the way through the Super Bowl for $150. So just Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's, everybody. So that's what we got. So in review, I'm playing this as a 3-team teaser 10-pointer, which is Alabama laying 4, Clemson laying the 2.5 to Notre Dame. I think that game could be closer. And then the Old Mississippi State under, it's 44 down to 54. And Old Mississippi State's defense gives up 12 a game. Good luck on that. So, see, that's the thing. Even Alabama playing them, give up 12 a game. They scored 24. So it's not like, they played much better teams than Oklahoma did, and all of them, really. So Clemson, give credit. I think they've been there. I think they're just stronger than Notre Dame. I mean, even in their wins, Notre Dame, it's kind of like, you look at, like, okay, Ball State, 24-16. Okay, it was the quarterback. All right, give them credit. Stanford, 38-70. Pitt, 19-14. Even Navy, they gave up 22 to Navy. Northwestern, 31-21. Even Florida State, 42-13. Florida State's terrible. And then USC, 24-17. So they didn't score a lot against average defenses. Northwestern, USC. Well, Syracuse is different. The quarterback got hurt. Who knows how much to do. Navy, 44 on Navy's nothing. 19 on Pitt. So it's not like, it's like they saw the kid, he throws 56 against Wake, and then 38 against Stanford at home, and then they get used to him. And he beats a weak Virginia team, and then all of a sudden it's 19 on Pitt, 31 Northwestern, and 24 USC. So he doesn't really score a lot, and you're going to need to do that against Clemson. So the more I'm talking, the more I like Alabama and Clemson, probably at least by 10 points or more. Alabama, I think, by probably 17-20, and then I think Clemson wins maybe by 10 to 15 over Notre Dame. They'll hang around a little bit, but Clemson's just too strong defensively, really. And then play that with Mississippi State under that against Iowa. It's 2 low-scoring teams. So that's your complimentary playoff teaser with the chaser. If you just want to play a 6-pointer, Then I would play Alabama and Clemson. Clemson at 12.5 to 6.5. I like under a touchdown. Alabama still, I hate laying 8, but I think they're probably the one team in a playoff game. Here, there's no holds barred. They're just gonna pound Oklahoma's defense. And Alabama's defense is gonna pound Oklahoma's offense. So it's probably get pretty ugly the way Alabama does it. And Clemson, I just see them as rolling along. Again, they're kind of untested, the same as Notre Dame is really untested. Give them the Michigan win, but even there, they did nothing in the second half. And they got one lucky touchdown that should have been an interception. So, okay, that was Wimbush throwing instead of the other guy. But anyway, that's what you have. So again, the specials, 77, you get the lock tomorrow. With the 31st, you get the playoff, which I just gave you. You get the rest of the New Year's Day, and then you get the next round of the playoffs. 150, you get all the pros, which is this weekend's crucial for the playoffs, and then the playoffs through the Super Bowl for 150. Anyway, have a Happy New Year and Merry Christmas on www.teaserking.com. Good luck, everybody. Thank you.